Now, Mayor Pete made the following assertion about the 11 million alleged illegal aliens who are here. I believe the number is much higher.
Do you think illegal immigration is a problem in the United States?
Sorry, I can't see you. Where'd the mic go?
Right.
Oh, hi, there you are. So there's no question we got to fix the system, for sure. But part of the problem is, we got an economy that really needs people, especially in rural areas, right? I don't think it's any mystery to folks in rural areas why there are a lot of undocumented workers. But we got an immigration system that wasn't set up to actually have that many people come in lawfully. The reason there's 11 million undocumented folks here is that the economy needed 11 million more people than the system was prepared to let in.
The reason we have 11 million undocumented here is because we needed 11 million more workers than the system was prepared to let in. What does that even mean? I've told you about George Borjas. He is a Harvard professor, has done more work on the impact of legal and illegal immigration than perhaps anybody. He's a professor of economics. And he's been studying immigration for around 34 years. And he said 2016, however, was the first time his work was ever cited in a convention speech. Donald Trump used one of his papers to back up his plan to crack down on immigrants and build a wall. And he says, but he was only telling half the story. And then he says Hillary Clinton, for her part, also was only telling the other half. And he said, here's the problem with the current immigration debate. Quote, neither side is revealing the whole picture. So here's what he said. Quote, both low and high-skilled natives are affected by the influx of immigrants. But because a disproportionate percentage of immigrants have few skills, it is low-skilled American workers, including many blacks and Hispanics, who have suffered most from this wage dip. The monetary loss is sizable. The typical high school dropout earns about $25,000 annually. According to census data, immigrants admitted in the past 2 decades lacking a high school diploma have increased the size of the low-skilled workforce by roughly 25%. As a result, the earnings of this particularly vulnerable group dropped by between $800 and $1,500 each year. And he says you don't need any complex stats to see the harm done to workers. Simply look at how employers have reacted. He says a decade ago, Kreider Inc., a chicken processing plant in Georgia, was raided by immigration agents, and 75% of its workforce vanished over a single weekend. Shortly after that, Kreider placed an ad in the local newspaper announcing job openings at higher wages. And a bunch of people got hired, including, yes, people of color. He said, but that's just one side of the story. Somebody's lower wage is always somebody else's higher profit. And so he estimates the additional profits because of the use of illegal aliens to be about $50 billion annually. But he says there's one more complicating factor. Quote, immigrants receive government assistance at higher rates than natives. The higher cost of all the services provided to immigrants and the lower taxes they pay because they have lower earnings implies that on a year-to-year basis, immigration creates a fiscal hole of at least $50 billion, offsetting the gain from the $50 million in profits that people make because of the illegal aliens. Quote, so it's not too far-fetched to conclude that immigration has barely affected the total wealth of natives at all. Instead, it's changed how the pie is split, with the losers, the workers who compete with immigrants, many of those being low-skilled Americans, sending roughly $500 billion check annually to the winners. The winners being primarily the employers. The immigrants, he says, also come out ahead. But the people that get shafted are those with low skills, the people that illegal aliens who have unskills compete against and put downward pressure on their wages. Here is what George Borjas said about all of this.
It is impossible to devise an immigration policy that makes everybody better off. For example, all the other chapters in the book basically show the extent, the importance of trade-offs. That if we want a bigger economic pie because of immigration, some people lose, namely the workers, and some people gain, mainly the employers. The immigrants gain a lot too. So to choose an immigration policy, you're really making a decision about how much you care about natives as compared to immigrants, and how much you care about this particular group of natives versus that particular group of natives. And that's true for the choice of any immigration policy. So before we go ahead and say, oh, we should have more H-1B visas, for example, it's actually important to ask first, who are you rooting for? I mean, the H-1B program might create benefits, but it also creates losses. You only have to look at the New York Times reporting on the H-1B program and find out all these stories of people actually being forced to train their replacements.
That's George Borjas. Winners and losers. Losers are those who have low skills.